In Peru, protests continue in several regions against Boluarte's government. Two new powerful aftershocks hit the Turkiye and Syria border on Monday, killing at least 3 civilians and injuring over 200, only 2 weeks after the devastating earthquake that shook the region on February 8th. And in Burkina Faso, over 51 soldiers were killed after an ambush in the north of the country. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Protests continue in several Peruvian regions to reject the government of Dina Boluarte. The people of Aymara demonstrated this Monday in the region of Puno, while unions and guilds in the north of the country called for a strike. Indigenous groups took to the streets to demand the resignation of the president and the convocation of Constituent Assembly. While in the south of the nation, different unions and Departmental Workers Federation in Arequipa joined the national strike. According to recent polls, more than 70% of the population demands an advance in the elections for this year. In Bolivia, there are 8,700 officially reported cases of dengue fever in 7 of its 9 regions, and so far, 29 people have died from the disease. Most of the cases have been reported in Santa Cruz, the largest region in the country. Health Minister Jason Ausa said on Monday that the dengue case fatality rate stands at 0.3%. He stressed that regarding dengue, the key is to eliminate mosquito breeding grounds. So he asked people to support government actions by cleaning spaces that could pose a risk for the proliferation of the vector. Reports indicate that 57% of cases occur in the age group of 6 to 29 years, and the disease is currently found in 14 of the 15 provinces. In Venezuela, the National Bolivarian Armed Forces destroyed 4 drug trafficking camps in the Santa Ana River in the state of Zulia. On Friday, the Strategic Operational Commander of the mentioned forces, General-in-Chief Domingo Hernandez Lares, informed about the security operation in which the smuggling facilities were destroyed. The commander announced the seizure of more than 40,000 liters of aeronautical fuel, military equipment, explosive elements, and drugs. The military officer pointed out that those responsible for these camps were presumably Colombian drug traffickers in the country. The government of El Salvador announced that it will maintain the exception regime to prevent gang members from returning to the communities. Salvadorian authorities asserted that reforms to the legal system will be maintained and those necessary to confront the country's security problems will be implemented. Meanwhile, they are evaluating various proposals and projects regarding the reduction of the number of municipalities, the modification of the number of deputies that represent the departments in the Legislative Assembly, and maintaining the price of taxes. They also pointed out that there are no proposals for constitutional reforms on the political radar. However, they estimate that there could be reforms within specific laws. Brazilian President Luis Inácio da Silva overflew on Monday the areas which have been hit by heavy rains and landslides on the São Paulo coast, especially in São Sebastião, where at least 36 people died. In a message posted last night on Twitter, Lula said that all levels of government will be brought together to attend to the injured, search for the missing, and restore roads, power, and telecommunication links in the region. Lula also regretted the death caused by the rains and expressed solidarity with their families. Rescue workers continue to search for at least 40 missing people, as well as reconnecting isolated communities and clearing blocked roads that trapped an unknown number of tourists who traveled to attend carnival celebrations. Sao Paulo state government said in a statement that 35 people died in the city of São Sebastião and a 7-year-old girl was killed in neighboring Ubatuba. In Chile, authorities maintain a state of emergency due to wildfires in the south-central region. At present, there are 260 active forest fires in the country, of which 77 are currently being fought in the central-southern region. According to recent figures released by Interior Undersecretary Manuel Monsalve, the flames have already consumed 429,000 hectares, destroyed some 1,987 houses and affected over 7,000 people. Gonçalves said high temperatures, low humidity and strong winds will continue through the week, conditions that help the fires to spread. The Chilean official also stated that although the emergency continues, fundamentally in the regions of Biobío, Ñuble and La Araucanía, the situation is more contained. Finally, he urged the population to avoid risky behavior with activities that incite the spread of the fire. In Argentina, experts detected the highest concentration of toxic agrochemicals in the world in fish from the Salado River in the province of Santa Fe, the third most populated in the country. The study, carried out by experts from the National Council for Scientific and Technical Research at the National University of Litoral, analyzed the fish extracted from the lower basin of the Salado, focusing on shad, one of the most consumed species. In the sample, scientists found the highest concentrations worldwide of 9 biocides, among which are insecticides, pesticides, and other chemicals that are massively implemented in the cultivation of transgenic species in the region. The Center for the Protection of Nature, a provincial non-governmental organization, warned about bioaccumulation, meaning the concentration of poison by the repeated consumption of fish and the consequent presence of terminal diseases which affect locals. Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Two new powerful aftershocks hit Turkey and Syria on Monday, as both countries are still dealing with the debris from the devastating quakes on February 6 that killed at least 47,000 people. The 6.4 and 5.8 tremors rocked the Turkish Hatay province along the Turkish-Syrian border. The tremor produced panic movement among the population and raised significant dust clouds. According to Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu, at least 3 people have been killed and 13 have been wounded in the 2 new earthquakes. Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency has stated that more than 6,000 aftershocks have been recorded since the 7.8 magnitude earthquake devastated the southern region of the country and northwest Syria.
People panicked. It was a very powerful earthquake. There were buildings near the tent where we were. So people were cut off from their families. I live here. I suffered the earthquake, but I was with friends who had come as volunteers. So we tried to reassure people. Currently, we're looking at where people need help, and at the same time, our friends are trying to reassure people because there has been a real panic, because people psychologically still suffer the after effects of the first. And we were checking at the same time where we are going to have to go to help people.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced that more than 114,000 people were rescued during the search operations following the February 6th earthquake. Erdogan said that the debris clearance works are about to be completed. The Emergency Management Agency said that the death toll from the earthquake in Turkey exceeded 41,000. President Erdogan stated that more than 1.5 million people are living in temporary shelters and that housing will be made available for those affected.
The authorities have provided shelter to this day to 1,684,000 citizens affected by the earthquake that devastated the south of the country. We will allocate 100,000 prefabricated houses in the earthquake area, with the possibility of raising that number to 200,000 if necessary. So far, 114,834 people have been rescued from under the rubble.
U.S. President Joe Biden arrived on Monday in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev on an unprecedented visit. Ukraine's media showed a picture of the head of the White House in the monastery of St. Michael of the Golden Domes. Minutes later, President Zelensky reported on the arrival of the president, who was astonished that 1 year after the war in Ukraine he is still standing. The president's agenda is kept under reserve. He was at the government headquarters where he reaffirmed his commitment to the Ukrainian peer, to whom he will deliver $500 million of additional aid. Although there was no shelling, upon Biden's arrival, all the country's sirens were activated. The Chinese government denies U.S. accusations for allegedly considering sending arms to Russia. The statements come after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused Beijing of intending to strengthen Moscow's forces. Chinese officials remarked that it was Washington that is constantly providing weapons to the Kiev army. China's foreign ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin stated that China has always been committed to peace, a position reaffirmed after Beijing's announcement of a peace plan to end the conflict in Ukraine. Hundreds of citizens and social organizations from across the United States demanded answers about the military's ties to U.S. democratic institutions. During a rally in front of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., demonstrators denounced the Joe Biden administration is dedicated to increasing the profits and influence of the military-industrial complex, while abandoning any promise of welfare for the majority of U.S. citizens. Organizers explained that they are against the massive flight of money to Ukraine, as well as the U.S. role in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Speakers also heavily criticized the U.S. military-industrial complex, a powerful interest group made up of military, private defense contractors, and politicians. In Ohio, an explosion in a metal and paint plant in Bedford left at least 12 people injured with severe burns. Debris from the blast reportedly damaged cars in their parking lot and hit the roof of the building. Local media reported that multiple fire crews were deployed to put out the resulting fire. Ambulances and emergency crews arrived also to treat the injured. So far, it remains unclear what caused the explosion at around 2:30 p.m. local time. The explosion occurred just about 112 kilometers northwest of East Palestine, where a toxic train derailed on February 3rd. We have more news coming up after the final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Burkina Faso, according to a new provisional balance sheet published on Monday by the army, at least 51 soldiers were killed last Friday in an ambush by suspected terrorists in the north of the country. The General Staff of the Armed Forces informed that at least 43 new bodies were found on Monday, raising the provisional balance to 51 military dead. This after previously announcing a balance of 8 soldiers killed as a result of the attack that took place last February 17th in the province of Oudalan. In this context, the statement also pointed out that in recent operations, the uniform managed to neutralize more than 100 terrorists at the same time that they seized and destroyed a large amount of combat equipment. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, new clashes between M23 rebels and army troops were reported in the east of the country. Confrontations between the Congolese army and M23 rebels began in the Kitchanga area, northwest of the eastern city of Goma. The fighting came as regional leaders called once again for a ceasefire and for all armed groups to withdraw from occupied territory by March 30th. More than 120 armed groups and self-defense militias are believed to be fighting in the east of the country. The Democratic Republic of the Congo accuses neighboring Rwanda of backing the rebels, a claim endorsed by a United Nations panel of experts. The Tunisian Coast Guard announced on Sunday that it had intercepted more than 400 migrants in a single night off the country's coast. According to a statement made by the Guard's spokesman, the units followed 16 crossing operations and rescued 423 people. Among the rescued are 71 Tunisians and 352 nationals of sub-Saharan African countries. Tunisia, whose coastline is less than 150 kilometers from the Italian island of Lampedusa, is a common passageway for asylum seekers to leave for Italy, usually fleeing conflict areas and worsening living conditions. According to official Italian figures, more than 32,000 migrants, including 18,000 Tunisians, arrived in the European country from Tunisia in 2022. Palestinians in the Jerusalem area launched a campaign of civil disobedience to protest Israeli abuses. Palestinian youth shut off the entrance to occupy East Jerusalem's Shuafat refugee camp with barricades and dumpsters, while Israeli forces fired rubber bullets and tear gas canisters that left at least 3 wounded. The youth called on the population not to attend workplaces located inside Israel and to boycott the occupying state by not paying bills and taxes. In this way, the activists reaffirmed their determination to continue with the civil disobedience until Israeli authorities end their repressive practices against their neighborhoods and towns. During the past week, Israeli crackdown on the Palestinian population involved the demolition of at least 7 buildings, the arrest of 100 people, the installation of dozens of roadblocks and checkpoints, and the confiscation of money and property of former and current political prisoners, among other measures. The United Nations Security Council reaffirmed on Monday its deep concern and dismay over the announcement by the government of Israel to continue construction and expansion of its settlements in Palestinian territory. In a presidential statement released during a session devoted to the situation in the Middle East, the body expressed its strong opposition to any unilateral measures that impede peace, including Israeli construction and expansion, land confiscation, and legalization of settlement outposts, and the displacement of civilians. UN Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Tor Wennesland, recalled that Israeli settlements, including outposts, are illegal under international law and remain a substantial obstacle to peace. Russia and Iran condemned an Israeli attack that killed 5 people and injured 15 in Syria's capital Damascus. Both nations strongly expressed their rejection after Syrian air defenses repelled an Israeli aggression on the Kafar Sousa neighborhood in Damascus on Saturday. As a result, 5 people were killed, including a soldier, while 15 civilians were injured and several houses were destroyed. Iranian and Russian officials called the attack a flagrant violation of international law. In this sense, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova urged the Israeli government to refrain from steps with dangerous consequences for the entire region. The attack on Damascus came less than 2 weeks after a deadly 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck northern Syria and southern Turkey. North Korea fired 2 short-range ballistic missiles on Monday using its most modern launcher in its second launch in 48 hours. On Saturday, it had fired one of its powerful intercontinental ballistic missiles, which was followed by joint air exercises performed by Washington and Seoul. According to Pyongyang, Monday's firing was precisely in response to those maneuvers, and authorities blamed the United States and South Korea for the deteriorating security situation in the Korean Peninsula. The North Korean leader's sister, Kim Jong-un, warned in a televised statement that the country is closely monitoring joint actions by Seoul and Washington, and stated that North Korea's use of the Pacific as a firing range depends on the actions of U.S. forces. On Monday, Russian ambassador to China Igor Morgulov met China's envoy for the Korean Peninsula, Liu Xiaoming, to discuss the issue of security in the sub-region. The Russian embassy expressed on its Telegram channel the heightened need to increase efforts to find a comprehensive political and diplomatic solution to the security problems in the Korean Peninsula, taking into account fair concerns of all parties involved. As reported on Monday, North Korea fired 2 missiles into Japan's sea in response to Sunday's joint U.S.-South Korean maneuvers. The missiles flew over for 400 kilometers and 350 kilometers respectively before falling outside Japan's exclusive economic zone. During 2022, Pyongyang conducted a total of 37 missile launches, plus 3 more this year. We have come to the end of this newspaper film, and you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.